Have you ever looked at the clock, blinked, and realized 20 minutes had vanished? You tell yourself you were just daydreaming, or that you lost focus for a moment. But time doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. We are taught that time is a linear progression, a river flowing in one direction. But what if the river has leaks? What if there are people, or things, waiting beneath the surface to catch the drops we spill? Your lost time isn't gone. They are using it to build their world. I used to be like you, dismissive of the glitches in my day. I thought the missing seconds were just a symptom of a tired mind in a fast world. That was before I found the gray alleyway behind the old municipal library. It was a Tuesday, a day that felt like it was already dissolving before it even began. I checked my watch at the entrance of the alley. It was 4:15 p.m. By the time I took 10 steps into the shadows, the hands on my wrist were spinning like a ceiling fan. The air grew heavy, smelling of wet concrete and the metallic tang of old blood. The color bled out of the world, leaving only shades of ash and charcoal. At the end of the alley stood a door that shouldn't have been there. It was a heavy steel slab, rusted at the edges, with a brass plaque that read, "Department of Missing Seconds." I didn't knock. The door simply sighed open, inviting me into a realm of eternal twilight. Inside, the ceiling stretched up into an infinite, humming darkness. Rows upon rows of filing cabinets filled the space, disappearing into the gray haze of the horizon. The sound was the first thing that broke me. The sound of a billion ticking clocks, all out of sync. It wasn't a mechanical sound, but a rhythmic, wet thumping, like a million tiny hearts beating in cages. Behind the nearest desk sat a man, or something shaped like one. His skin was the color of a rainy sidewalk, translucent and thin as parchment. He didn't look up as I approached, his fingers dancing across an ancient typewriter. When he finally raised his head, I saw that he had no eyes, only deep, polished pits of absolute black. "You're early," he whispered, his voice sounding like dry leaves skittering over a grave. "Or perhaps," he corrected himself, "you are exactly on time for the seconds you've already lost." He pulled a long, thin strip of translucent film from his desk drawer. On the film, I saw images of myself, frozen moments of me staring out a window or waiting for a light to change. "This is your waste," he said, his black voids fixed on my face. "The moments you didn't use, the seconds you let slip through your fingers because you were bored." He stood up, and I realized he was nearly 7 feet tall, his limbs elongated and spindly. He beckoned me to follow him deeper into the labyrinth of cabinets. As we walked, I saw others like him, all with those same hollow midnight eyes. They were sorting, cataloging, and refining the lost time of the world above. I saw a woman at a station grinding lost minutes into a fine, glowing dust. "We are the architects of the 7th dimension," the tall clerk explained. "Your world is rich in time, yet you treat it like garbage. So we collect the scraps. We mine the gaps in your consciousness." He stopped before a massive window that looked out onto a sprawling, unfinished city. The buildings were twisted, gray parodies of our own architecture, built from a substance that shimmered like a dying star. "That is 7 he murmured, his breath cold against my ear. "It is built entirely from the energy of your discarded moments. Every time you zone out, a brick is laid here. Every time a child's afternoon drags on in boredom, a new street is paved." I watched as a group of workers used a pulsating light to weld a section of a bridge. The light flickered with the memory of a summer afternoon I had forgotten long ago. I recognized the specific shade of gold. It was the sunset from my 10th birthday, a moment I thought was lost to time. "You're stealing our lives," I stammered, backed against a cold filing cabinet. The clerk tilted his head, a grotesque, jerky movement. "Stealing? No. We are simply recycling what you threw away. But the demand is growing. 7 is hungry. It needs to expand." He reached out a long gray finger and touched my forehead. Suddenly, I felt a vacuum behind my eyes, a terrifying pull as if my soul was being stretched. I saw my entire life, not as a story, but as a series of disconnected, glowing fragments. The clerk started to pull, and I felt a decade of my future beginning to fray. "Your next 30 years would be wasted anyway," he hissed. "Think of the magnificent towers we could build with your midlife crises." The thumping of the billion hearts grew deafening, vibrating in my very marrow. I realized then that 7LM isn't just a place you stumble into. It is a parasite, a shadow world growing fat on the life we fail to live. With a surge of primal terror, I threw myself backward, away from his touch. I ran through the aisles of cabinets, the ticking clock screaming in my ears. The gray man didn't chase me. He just watched with those bottomless pits of shadow. "Go back," he called out, his voice echoing from every direction at once. "Go back to your world of ticking clocks and fading suns. But remember, every time you blink, we are there, catching what falls." I burst through the steel door and collapsed onto the wet pavement of the alley. I scrambled to my feet and looked at my watch. It was 4:16 p.m. Only 1 minute had passed in the real world. But when I looked in the mirror later that night, I didn't recognize the man staring back. My hair was streaks of gray, and my skin had a sallow, ashen hue I couldn't wash away. I try to stay focused now. I try to cherish every agonizing tick of the clock. But sometimes, I feel a cold breeze in the middle of a crowded room. I hear the faint, distant sound of a typewriter clicking in the dark, and I know that somewhere, in a gray office that never ends, they are waiting for me to blink. They are waiting for me to lose another second, because they are almost finished building their world, and when 7LM is complete, they won't need our scraps anymore. They will come for the whole clock. Be careful where you let your mind wander, because someone is always there to catch the time you lose, and they are very, very hungry.